Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of our series with LCCC and Wyoming Workplace Wellness, all about mindfulness and the various ways that mindfulness can improve our lives, can improve our time management, our stress management, our sleep management. I'm really excited and also a little sad that we're almost at the end of our time together. Next week will be our last week of videos for this semester anyway. So for this week, week 6, we're going to be talking about equanimity and loving kindness. And I know that you can't see me right now, but it's still Janine. My pronouns are she, hers. I am the owner and founder of Wyoming Workplace Wellness. And there's a reason I'm not on video today. What we're going to be talking about this week is about turning inward. It's about inner knowing. So I would really like to encourage you to keep your eyes closed or soft and unfocused as we move through our sessions this week. I also encourage you, if you want to take your normal tall, comfortable meditation seat that we learned during week 1 of our time together. You're welcome to take that. But for this week, for our practices, you're also welcome to just lie down. Find a spot to lay down, maybe on a yoga mat or a rug on the floor. That's beautiful. Maybe on a bed or a couch. But any posture where you can really begin to look within, to turn inside. So let's begin our session today the way we begin all of our meetings together, closing down the eyes, lengthening the spine, whether you're sitting up or laying down. Just notice if you can lengthen the spine at all. If you're sitting up, you can root the tailbones down into the earth as the crown of the head floats up. If you're lying down, maybe you just notice where the spine is. Notice if you can lengthen anything. Maybe you very gently lift the head, tuck the chin slightly, and then lower the head back down, just making sure your neck is nice and long. Once you're there, begin to tune into the breath. Noticing the inhales and the exhales, the rise and fall of the chest and the belly. Really turn inward here. Notice how the breathing feels in your body. Notice if your breath feels shallow or deep, fast or slow, smooth or sticky. Is it restricted in any way? Maybe you're congested or just feel a little tight or tense in the chest. No judgment. Part of our mindfulness practice is just noticing without judgment. Once you've been able to focus in on your breathing, we'll move through our body scan, beginning at the soles of the feet, sliding your awareness up the legs, over the knees, thighs, glutes. Pausing anywhere you need to breathe space and openness, but just scanning the whole body like an airport scanner and just taking note. Maybe you notice my low back is tight. Maybe you notice, wow, I feel really relaxed in my spine. Or maybe your arm is sore from carrying something heavy, or any number of other physical sensations you might have right now. Maybe your belly feels full or empty. Anything that you can notice and name. That's a beautiful mindfulness practice. It's bringing you into the here and the now. Pay particular attention when you get there to the physical sensations in your head. Does your head feel foggy or open, focused? Do you have a headache? Anything feel tense, tight? Once you've scanned your body, we'll begin to check in with our heart and mind. Where's your head? Where's your heart? Notice any persistent thoughts that might be swirling around your head. Anything that your mind really wants to be stuck on, maybe something about the past, something about the future, agenda items, to-do lists, worries about a conversation that took place or needs to take place. Whatever it is, just notice. Maybe you say to yourself, my mind is very occupied with blank, and just allow that to be so for a breath or two. Same thing with your emotional or feeling self. Can you name one or two emotions or feelings that you have right here, right now? It can be big, big, big feelings or just very subtle, small feelings. Maybe you feel mildly anxious. Maybe you feel a little bit excited for the end of the semester. Maybe you feel a little bit sad. Again, not judging ourselves, just noticing, and then allowing yourself to just feel that feeling or feel those feelings for a couple of breaths. You feel anxious, breathe in the anxious, breathe it in. And let those feelings and thoughts go for now, knowing that you can pick them back up if you need to. We'll refocus on our breathing, on our breath, turning inward. Eyes are closed or soft. There's no video, just listen to the sound of my voice. Today we're talking about equanimity and loving kindness. What do I mean by equanimity? Equanimity is the ability to maintain your inner peace, regardless of what's going on in the world around you. I'll say that again. Equanimity is the ability to maintain your inner peace, regardless of what's going on in the world around you. So, when the environment, either externally or internally, either outside of you or within yourself, is noisy and chaotic, whether you're going through a difficult experience or time of life, the ability to stay calm, to maintain inner peace, to not react with frustration or anger or hatred, just to gently observe with loving kindness, that is equanimity. So we want to cultivate this ability to stay calm, regardless of how chaotic our environment gets. On a technical level, or at least in terms of meditation, equanimity means not reacting to anything with craving or aversion, just observing what's going on. So we've been practicing this already every time we've met in a subtle way when we observe what we're feeling or thinking non judgmentally and just allow it to be. And as you might be able to guess, being able to cultivate this sense of equanimity can be a real asset in navigating life as a human, especially difficult times, times of adversity, challenge, and times of great joy, times of great happiness and excitement. Equanimity can also benefit us there. The idea is you're not getting swept away with emotional reactions one way or the other, but you're maintaining that calm center core. When thinking of equanimity and what it means to embody equanimity, you can think of, there's a lot of things you can think of. One image that might come to mind is that of a mountain. In a previous video, we did a mountain meditation. And you might recall from that meditation that as you're seated, embodying the form of a mountain, you are still and stoic and proud as the seasons change around you, as the sun rises and sets, as storms blow in and blow out, even forest fires, floods, the mountain remains steady and still and calm. So maybe just take a moment here to rest in that awareness inside of you of what it might feel like to be that steady, strong, proud, calm version of yourself. You can picture yourself as a mountain. You can picture yourself as the eye of a storm, thinking about the eye of the hurricane as the storm swirls all around. Or any other image that really speaks to you and comes to mind as you think about equanimity, being centered, maintaining your inner peace, regardless of what's going on in the world around you. And once you find that image in your mind, breathe into it. Finding this inner stillness, this inner calm, this ability to become solid and immovable, not only can help us in our relationships with others, our relationships with ourselves, but our relationship with life and our own emotions. That ability to create just a little bit of space between you and an event, you and a worry, you and a challenge, can give you the time and space to really act in a thoughtful, reflective way, as opposed to kind of a knee-jerk reaction. So continue to sit or lie where you are, breathing into that sense of having a calm center core, being one with equanimity, inner peace, balance. Maybe imagining as you sit in stillness or lie in stillness, the weather, the world, the goings on of your home, your street, your city, your state, your country. Everyone bustling and moving along as you're completely still and quiet, listening to your breath, not overly excited, not angry, just here, just peace. Being able to come to this state of inner peace and calm, you might find if you do it often enough and practice often enough, can open up a little door of wisdom inside of you where you start to hear your own intuition speaking a little bit more loudly, not cloudly. You hear your own intuition speaking a little bit more loudly, a little bit stronger of a voice as you cultivate that inner peace and calm and turn inwards. Continue here, breathing into equanimity, balance, peace, inner calm. And I'd like to read something for you. You know, if you've been to the other sessions, you know, I often will read excerpts from various books. One of them we've been moving through is Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. However, today I want to read something a little bit different. This book is called Untamed, The author's name is Glennon Doyle. It is not a mindfulness or a meditation book. I would maybe call it a memoir, but Glennon Doyle has a chapter in here called Know, Know. And listen as you lie or sit with your eyes closed in your state of inner peace and perfect calm, equanimity. And just see as I read if any of the words resonate for you. If they resonate, you can breathe them in, allowing them to integrate and be digested into your system. If they don't, just allow them to go in one ear and out the other. Again, this chapter is called Know, and it's from Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Several years ago, very early one morning, I found myself unable to sleep again. It was 3 a.m., and I was wild-eyed, shaky, flailing, grasping for answers like a drowning woman desperate for air. I had just typed these words into my Google search window. What should I do if my husband is a cheater, but also an amazing dad? I stared at that question and thought, well, I've hit some sort of new rock bottom. I've just asked the internet to make the most important personal decision of my life. Why do I trust everyone else on earth more than I trust myself? Where the hell is myself? When did I lose touch with her? I clicked on article after article anyway. Distressingly, everyone thought I should do something different. The religious experts insisted that a good Christian would stay. Feminists argued that a strong woman would leave. Parenting articles preached that a good mother thinks only of what is best for her children. All of those differing opinions meant that I quite literally could not please everyone. That was a relief. When a woman finally learns that pleasing the world is impossible, she becomes free to learn how to please herself. I looked at all of these contradictory opinions and thought, if there is in fact an objective right or wrong way to handle this, why do all of these people have such different ideas about what a person should do? And I had an epiphany. It must be that should and shouldn't, right and wrong, good and bad, they're not wild. They're not real. They're just culturally constructed, artificial, ever-changing cages created to maintain institutions. It struck me that in every family, culture, or religion, ideas of right and wrong are the hot cattle prods, the barking sheepdogs that keep the masses in the herd. They are the bars that keep us caged. I decided that if I kept doing the right thing, I would spend my life following someone else's directions instead of my own. I didn't want to live my life without living my life. I wanted to make my own decisions as a free woman, from my soul, not my training. But the problem was I didn't know how. A few weeks later, I opened a card from a friend that said in bold, capital, thick black lettering, "Be still and know." I'd read that many times before, but it struck me freshly this time. It didn't say poll your friends and know, or read books by experts and know, or scour the internet and know. It suggested a different approach to knowing. Just stop. Stop moving, stop talking, stop searching, stop panicking, stop flailing. If you just stop doing, you'll start knowing. This seemed like magical nonsense, but desperate women take desperate measures. I decided to experiment. After the kids left for school, I shut myself in my closet, sat down on a towel, closed my eyes, and did nothing but breathe. At first, each 10-minute session felt 10 hours long. I checked my phone every few moments, planned my grocery lists, and mentally redecorated my living room. The only things I seemed to know on that floor were that I was hungry and itchy and suddenly desperate to fold laundry and reorganize my pantry. I was an input junkie, thrown into detox. I was tempted to quit every second, but I was stern with myself. 10 minutes a day is not too long to spend finding yourself. For God's sake, you spend 80 minutes a day finding your keys. After a few weeks, like a gymnast who is able to stretch deeper after each training, I began to feel myself dropping lower during each session. Eventually, I sank deep enough to find a new level inside me that I'd never known existed. This place is underneath, low, deep, quiet, and still. There are no voices there, not even my own. All I can hear down there is my breath. It was as though I'd been drowning, and in my panic, I'd been gasping for air, calling for rescue, and flailing on the surface. But what I really needed to do to save myself was let myself sink. It struck me that this is why we say to people, calm down. Because beneath the noise of the pounding, the swirling surf is a place where all is quiet and clear. Since the chaos stills in this deep, I could sense something there I was not able to sense on the surface. It was like that silent chamber in Denmark, one of the quietest places in the world, where people can actually hear and feel their own blood circulating. There in the deep, I could sense something circulating inside me. It was the knowing. I can know things down at this level that I can't on the chaotic surface. Down here, when I pose a question about my life in words or abstract images, I sense a nudge. The nudge guides me toward the next precise thing, and then when I silently acknowledge the nudge, it fills me. The knowing feels like warm liquid gold filling my veins and solidifying just enough to make me feel steady and certain. What I learned, even though I'm afraid to say it, is that God lives in this deepness inside me. When I recognize God's presence and guidance, God celebrates by flooding me with warm liquid gold. Every day I returned to the closet, sat down on the floor, littered with t-shirts and jeans, and I practiced sinking. The knowing would meet me in the deep and nudge me toward the next right thing, one thing at a time. That was how I began to know what to do next. That was how I began to walk through my life more clearly, solid, and steady. A year later, I found myself in the middle of a work meeting, sitting at a long conference table. We were discussing an important decision that had to be made, and the team looking for me to leadership. I felt uncertain. I was about to fall back into my old way of knowing, looking outward for acceptance, permission, and consensus. But when I glanced over and caught sight of the door to the supply closet, I remembered my new way of knowing. I wondered if the team would mind if I excused myself to spend a few minutes in that closet. Instead, I took a deep breath, and with eyes wide open, I turned inward and tried to sink right there at the table. It worked. I sensed the nudge. And as soon as I acknowledged it, I was filled with warm liquid gold. I rose back to the surface, smiled, and said, I know what to do. I calmly and assuredly told the others the thing I wanted us to do. The panic in the room settled. Everyone breathed and seemed instantly relaxed and steady. We moved on. God came out of the closet, and now I can take God anywhere. I now take orders only from my own knowing, whether I'm presented with a work, personal, or family decision, a monumental or tiny decision. Whenever uncertainty rises, I sink. I sink beneath the swirling surf of words, fear, expectations, conditioning, and advice, and feel for the knowing. I sink 100 times a day. I have to, because the knowing never reveals a 5-year plan. It feels to me like a loving, playful guide, like the reason it will only reveal the next right thing is that it wants me to come back again and again because it wants to do life together. After many years, I'm developing a relationship with this knowing. We are learning to trust each other. When I talk like this, my wife raises her eyebrow and asks, Aren't you just talking to yourself down there? Maybe. If what I found in the deep is just myself, if what I've learned is not how to commune with God, but how to commune with myself, if who I have learned to trust is not God, but myself, and if for the rest of my life, no matter how lost I get, I know exactly where and how to find myself again, well then, that is certainly enough of a miracle for me. Why do we worry about what to call the knowing instead of sharing with each other how to call the knowing? I know many people who have found this level inside them and live solely by it. Some call the knowing God or wisdom or intuition or source or deepest self. I have a friend with some serious God issues, and she calls it Sebastian. A God by any other name is an equal miracle and relief. It doesn't matter what we call our knowing. What matters, if we want to live our singular shooting star life, is that we call it. I have learned that if I want to rise, I have to sink first. I have to search for and depend upon the voice of inner wisdom instead of voices of outer approval. This saves me from living someone else's life. It also saves me a hell of a lot of time and energy. I just do the next thing the knowing guides me toward, one thing at a time. I don't ask permission first, which is just such a grown-up way to live. The best part is this. The knowing is beyond and beneath language, so I have no language to use to translate it to anyone. Since it doesn't use words to explain itself to me, I quit using words to explain myself to others. This is the most revolutionary thing a woman can do. The next precise thing, one thing at a time, without asking permission or offering explanation. This way of life is thrilling. I understand now that no one else in the world knows what I should do. The experts don't know. The ministers, the therapists, the magazines, the authors, my parents, my friends, they don't know. Not even the folks who love me the most, because no one has ever lived or will ever live this life that I am attempting to live with my gifts and challenges and past and people. Every life is an unprecedented experiment, this life of mine alone. So I have stopped asking people for directions to places they've never been. There is no map. We are all pioneers. I've got this second key tattooed on my wrist. Be still. It's my daily reminder that if I am willing to sit in the stillness with myself, I always know what to do. That the answers are never out there. They are as close as my breath and as steady as my heartbeat. All I have to do is stop flailing, sink below the surface, and feel for the nudge and the gold. Then I have to trust it, no matter how illogical or scary the next right thing seems. Because the more consistently, bravely, and precisely I follow the inner knowing, the more precise and beautiful my outer life becomes. The more I live by my own knowing, the more my life becomes my own and less afraid I become. I trust that the knowing will go with me wherever I go, nudging me toward the next thing, one thing at a time, guiding me all the way home. How to know. Moment of uncertainty arises. Breathe, turn inward, sink, feel around for the knowing. Do the next thing it nudges you toward. Let it stand. Don't explain. Repeat forever. For the rest of your life, continue to shorten the gap between the knowing and the doing. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. I hope you found our session today to be relaxing and enlightening. Please feel free to stay where you are, tapping into your own equanimity, your own knowing. On Wednesday, we'll go into another guided meditation practice to cultivate equanimity, as well as a loving kindness meditation. So I'll see you then. In the meantime, be well, take care of yourself and others. Bye-bye.